Okay, in the vein of getting started so we don't hold anyone up, why don't we take the next couple of minutes and fill out the first question on your worksheet. What are your top 3 sales goals that you're looking to accomplish? Basically, why are you here today? What do you want to get out of this session? What are you looking to improve in your business? What are you looking to learn? And give us some actionable things. So, not I want to make money. Yes, we all want to make money. How much money do you want to make? When do you want to make it by? How do you want to make it? Let's define some of those. Maybe take it a little further than how you've already been thinking about it. So your top 3 sales goals here over the next 6 months to a year. And then we can share those a little bit. Okay, so while you're doing that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Basically, I love sales. From a really young age, it's been something I've been passionate about. I was born into a family of salespeople, so picked things up along the years. I've had just about every sales job under the sun, including more recently in the last couple of decades, sales leadership roles and sales enablement, specifically creating sales enablement and training strategies for large software corporations. However, I still work with a lot of small businesses in my consulting practice. So, I guess the reason why I'm here is because I want to help people like you to do exactly what you're hoping to dream to aspire to do. All right, so what I'd like everyone to do is turn to the person to your right, or if they happen to be to your left, figure it out, and tell them what your number 1 goal is. So if you have to look at that list, what is the thing that if we could achieve it by the end of today would bring you closer to your vision of success? So I want you to, and this is part of networking, is introducing ourselves. So if you came with the person next to you, try to find someone that you don't already know. Introduce yourself and let them know what you're looking to achieve out of this. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that.
So hi, so we met in the elevator. Yes,
You guys can tell me, what's your sales goal? What are you looking to achieve? Great. That's great. You're in the right place. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today.
So I want to get back to 10K monthly. Just started. It's fantastic. Yeah. So I want to bring an illustration all ages.
If you can't see, so, is it fair to say that most of what we said was we need to make more money in some way, shape, or form? Right? We need to connect with more clients. We need to close more deals. Hold on one second.
Oh.
Okay, so that's why we're here today. Learn how to close more deals, talk to clients, create trust and faith within our sphere, and do what we can, not only to make a sale, but to make a client or a customer. And I think there's an interesting point of differentiation there. We can make a sale and someone can give us money and they can walk away, or we can make a customer or we can make a client, and that person comes around with us for life and they're interested in what we're selling and we have a trusted relationship with them. One thing I want to do to take a second, because this is something that's really helped me in my life. Stephen Covey wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I want you to realize that what you did was number 3. You put your priorities first. You wrote them down, you prioritize, and then this is the thing I add to it. I believe you have to say it out loud. There's power in saying it out loud. So, right, we have to be confident, we have to be able to communicate our message and our dreams. Feel free to copy these down, but if you don't have the time or don't want to take the time, I absolutely recommend this as a book, not for business, but for life. And he didn't pay me to say that. So, I have a bit of a choose your own adventure. Sorry? Oh, sorry, yeah. By all means, I'll just keep talking. I have a bit of a choose your own adventure presentation for you today. Because everyone in the room is going to be coming with different levels of sales knowledge, I don't want to leave anyone behind. I don't want to be talking above anyone. I also don't want to be talking below anyone. So I have sort of 3 mini presentations that I've put together today that I think would have a lot of impact for you. The first one is the basics of sales. It's literally, what are all these acronyms? What are all these words that I hear, the buzzwords that people are saying? How does that apply to my business, and how do I utilize that to create a strategy? Then we've got the business of sales. Like, some of you might be looking to put together a sales organization, or some of you may already run one. So what does that look like? Managers, directors, enablement, marketing, business development, all these different departments that come together to make a revenue generating organization. And then there's that third one, which is why I know most of you are here, which is the art of sales. And that's where we're going to have the most fun, and we're going to do some cool group work together and hopefully learn things about our business along the way. But I want to know what foundation you guys would like before we do that. So I'm happy to quickly run through the basics of sales, which again is like acronyms, buzzwords, just general knowledge about basic sales 101. Would you like me to run through that quickly, or do you think we can bypass that? And I'll just maybe get a show of hands. Would anyone like me to run over the very basic parts of sales? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll quickly go through that. Put up your hand if you have a question, because I really want to spend time on the exercises at the end that I think are going to yield the most results for everyone here. But let's dive into the basics of sales. So the basics of sales. Constantly, people are confusing marketing and sales. So I want a couple of you to maybe help me to understand what you think the difference is between marketing and sales. Does anyone? I'd love to hear it.
As a marketing student, marketing is in tandem with sales. So sales does the actual like B2C, like working with clients, and then marketing kind of is the foundation to make something attractive in sense in sales. Like,
That's a great way to explain it. Does anyone else have maybe a different perspective?
I think marketing is more about understanding the needs and wants of your customers, and sales is more about talking about selling.
I agree with that. Marketing is very often the message, whereas sales is the end result of what that message brings to those clients, which is, the benefit that your products provide. So, very quickly, some differences between sales and marketing. Sales is turning your customer's interest that's usually created through a marketing technique into tangible sales, into revenue. Marketing is generating that interest. Sales are product oriented, whereas marketing is telling the story of the product to entice the customer into the product journey. And sales involves the exchange of goods, revenue generation, whereas marketing is, again, the inlet for those people to understand that that product might even exist in the first place. I don't focus on marketing. There's a lot of fantastic marketing people, some of them even in the room, and digital marketing is something that everyone should be looking at. It's not my forte. I do it, I can talk about it, but it's not my bread and butter. What is my bread and butter is the business of sales, right? So what is the business of sales? The business of sales is all of the tiny little cogs or mechanisms that exist in tandem to create that revenue generating organization. So I've already used some acronyms, I've already used some jargon, so have other people. B2C was one that we've used. So let's quickly dispel some jargon myths. Jargon is basically, if you are aware, I'm not trying to talk down to you, but if you're not aware of what jargon is, it's basically industry specific words or phrases that are generally understood by people in a specific sphere, but not necessarily everyone else. So that's why this is so important, because it allows us to understand from a fundamental level what everyone else is talking about when they're talking about sales, and then we can have the real conversations, which is about the strategies, how to build trust and faith with our clients, how to have that longevity with our sales organizations. Sorry, there was a beware there. As much as it makes you sound smart, sometimes it can also make you sound like a jerk. So be very careful that you're not talking over people and that you're connecting with your audience as opposed to trying to sound smart. So revenue, if anyone doesn't know what revenue is, it's literally just the money that a company is making for the transactions of the sale of goods or services. You know, gross and net, you guys are probably familiar with those terms. A forecast is just what we are assuming that we're going to sell moving forward, right? So if someone asks you what your forecasted amount is for the next quarter, they're asking you what you're going to plan to make in the next quarter. A quota is a specific amount that a salesperson or sales unit is responsible for. So as a salesperson, I might be responsible for $1 million of quota, and my department might be responsible for $5 million departmental quota. And again, I am going through this quickly. Normally I would take more time. If anyone has questions, please feel free to put your hand up. I'm more than happy to slow it down. CRM is customer relationship management software. It's basically a book that keeps all of your customer information in one place. If you're not familiar with that, there's Salesforce, there's HubSpot, there's a bunch of them. We will talk about them, some specific ones a little bit later. But just so you know what CRM means, customer relationship management. Some people call it customer resource management. It's a debate. Business intelligence is just the data that you're receiving from probably your CRM or potentially your Google Analytics, and you're putting all of that analytics together to create what's called business intelligence, which gives you that really high-level view of your business and what's going on, and maybe gives you the opportunity to make some changes when it's necessary. And then, you know, you may have heard a salesperson say like, great, I won that deal, or I lost that. So closed won means I closed the conversation with my customer, and at the end of that, the result was that I won their business. Or sometimes that I lost their business. So if you hear closed won, closed lost, it just means I won their business or I didn't win their business. Marketing automation, again, not really my forte, but marketing automation is that automated outreach that people are doing. You probably get 10 of these emails, maybe 100 if you're like me a day, where someone's trying to talk to you, but you know it's a computer, and you know it's just some crafted email that 1,000 other people are getting with your name pasted to the top of it. That's marketing automation. There are better ways to do it. We can talk about that a bit as well. AI, I think everyone knows what AI is, but you may not be aware that AI is being used pretty heavily in business. So that marketing outreach is something that utilizes AI, but also business analytics, ChatGPT, like there's just so much stuff that people are utilizing for AI. Again, not my forte, but definitely something that I'm aware of in the market and something that's, you know, becoming definitely a larger conversation. This is my cautionary tale about AI. And again, remembering that I come from the software world, large multinational corporations with hundreds of salespeople. By nature, most salespeople will try to find the loophole if they can. AI creates a great opportunity for salespeople to be lazy, but also to take their personality out of it. And what really does a salesperson have, other than their product, is their personality. So do not take yourself out of it, because what you're going to find is you're going to lack that connection with your customer that creates trust and rapport, all fundamental things that you need in order to be able to have that lasting relationship. And then a qualified lead. So, you know, you mentioned that you're a marketing student. You're probably very familiar with marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, MQLs, SQLs. So a marketing qualified lead is what marketing believes the sales department needs in order to have a conversation with the customer. Sometimes sales believes that there's different criteria for having the conversation. So that's the differentiation between an MQL, which gets sent over to sales, and then all of a sudden that MQL gets sent back to marketing because it didn't qualify as a sales lead. So it checked all the marketing boxes, but when they actually talked to the person, it didn't make sense. Lead goes back. One of the other acronyms that came up was B2B and B2C. Is everyone familiar with that term? So B2B, business to business, B2C, business to customer. So basically think of if you have a product, okay, if I own a cleaning service and I sell to residential customers in their home and I drive to their home and I clean for them, I'm a B2C, I sell to my client. If I'm a B2B, let's say exact same company, except I don't clean houses, I clean office buildings. I'm a B2B because I'm not selling to the end user client, I'm selling to an organization or a business. Hopefully that clarifies that. This again breaks it down in a little bit of a different way, but it's just fundamentally remembering that some businesses sell directly to, people, and some businesses support other industries, right? So if I'm selling a sandwich, I can sell it to someone on the street, or I can run a confectionery and I have it in the building and I'm therefore supporting the infrastructure of that organization. Some fundamental differences between B2B and B2C, and this is maybe the stuff that's of more relevance for people in this room to remember. If I'm selling to a business, it takes me longer. There are 5 people before I actually speak to the 6th person who's the one that can sign a check. Shorter sales cycle for business to client, because obviously that person has money in their pocket. If they're hungry or they're cold or they're wet and I'm selling a product that overcomes whatever that need is, then all of a sudden they're going to buy it, probably on the spot. B2B is very relationship oriented. I will caution everyone to make every sales interaction that you have a relationship-based interaction. Transactional sales happen, but think about your experience at Walmart versus your experience at the market, like Kitchener Market. So I go to Walmart, thank you very much, paper or plastic, there you go. But there's like an artisan at the market. Although they're selling to me, they care about me, they've created some form of relationship. Guaranteed when I'm back at the market, I'm probably gonna walk by and see what that person has. Although it's a transactional sale, the relationship can have huge results. High risk reward. So business to business, I might invest 6 months of my time into an interaction with a client not to make a sale. But that sale might feed me for 6 months. As opposed to low risk, low reward, if I'm selling $2 widgets, if someone doesn't buy a $2 widget, that doesn't have that much effect on me, but I now have to sell 1,000 of those to make the same amount of money that I would here. So lower risk, but lower reward. Higher risk, higher reward. And then again, usually business is going to be higher dollar value attached to it, and then business to business again, usually depending on the industry or the product, lower volume as opposed to high volume when you're selling to your clients. Any questions about B2B or B2C? I think fundamentally that's going to be a big thing that separates people in this room, is whether you're sort of a B2B supporter of industry, or whether you're B2C and you're selling widgets, or you're selling a service that's being provided to the end user. Does anyone want to speak a little bit about whether you're a B2B or a B2C, or are you in the middle and you don't know exactly which one you are? Yeah.
For me, I can say that my company is I-10s. We clean carpet, upholstery, and we do janitorial cleaning services as well. So we're doing both.
Right.
We go to customers' residential house, in their carpet, in their
Perfect.
upholstery, and then we do that as well for business.
Perfect example. What's the messaging to the person who wants their couch cleaned at home versus the messaging to the person that you're going to come and do the industrial carpet cleaning for them? Different message?
Different messages.
So it's almost like you have to look at it like you have 2 channels of business and create a specific message for each one in order to entice those people into your sphere, right? But there's probably other people in the room that are in that same boat. Just remember that the message and many of these things may differentiate between, like I'm sure when you go to sell industrial carpet cleaning, it probably takes you a lot longer to close one of those deals than someone that just calls and says, I want my carpet or my couch done, right?
Yes.
So she's basically proving this slide that all of these aspects in her own business are actually, you know, when she's dealing with organizations, it takes her longer to close the deal. She has customers that have called her once to clean their couch and they've never called in again. She probably has customers that she goes every 6 months to clean their carpets, right? Like there's all kinds of ways that she can utilize the B2C messaging with some clients and the B2B messaging with others to really make sure that you're, you know, for your own mental sanity, putting them in the right box, right? So some examples, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because I don't want to take most of our time here. Some examples of B2B and B2C industries. Some examples of companies, you know, because logos are sometimes more easily identifiable. So these are some examples of B2C and B2B organizations. So we talked about the business of sales. You can't have a business of sales without understanding how a sales department is created or run or maintained. So a sales organization, we mentioned it before, it's all of the little bits and pieces that make up a revenue generating organization, from marketing, business development, sales, and even post-sales sometimes can be considered part of the revenue generation. So basically anything that touches money is in some way, shape, or form probably going to come back to revenue generation. So there's 4 different areas within a sales org. I think this is actually one of the things on there. If it's not, it's on another one. But just maybe take note of the fact that if in the future you foresee you having to build out a large sales organization, that some of this stuff might be important. Right now, you might be all of these things. Like, I'll be honest, for my business right now, I am all of these things. But as my business grows, I'm going to be hiring someone for marketing. I'll be hiring someone for post-sales support to do all of the customer follow-ups that I need. I'll be hiring someone in operations who's way smarter than me to run my CRM, right? So once your business takes flight, you're going to need to understand some of these things in a little bit more detail. One of those things is, you know, you're probably going to be the person at the top, CEO, president, owner, founder, whatever that term is that you like to use. And then underneath you, you're going to have some form of management. So whether that's a vice president or a director or even a sales manager, depending on the size of the company, you need someone to be able to, pardon the expression, herd the cats. Because let's face it, sometimes salespeople need people to herd them. And I'm a salesperson, so I can say that. Support is a huge thing and becoming more important. So sales operations and sales enablement, talking about business intelligence, data management, CRMs, sales enablement strategies, internal training programs, that stuff is all run by the support level within your sales organization. Some people will use third parties for that. Like I have corporations that reach out to me to help them with sales operations and enablement. But again, as those companies grow, they'll need to find internal resources to do that. And then you've got your customer-facing employees, whether that's the person on the phone calling your customers, whether that's someone knocking on doors, whether that's someone setting up appointments or actually going and meeting your clients and shaking their hands. All of those people are what we like to call the feet on the street. Any questions before I move on? Because I know I am sort of rifling through this, but I hope it's a good little like high-level understanding of some of this stuff. Any nods of approval or disapproval? Anyone? Okay, perfect. So sales software. We talked about CRM. I mentioned Salesforce and HubSpot. There's also SalesLoft, and I've tried to provide a free option on all of these. I don't think Apollo IO is free, but Monday.com and MailChimp are both free options that you can utilize for these, so feel free to check those out. The nice thing about a CRM is it takes all of the emails that you've had with the customer and puts them all in one space. So you can see all of that interaction in a single frame of glass. You can see all the business you've done with them, all the revenue you've generated, all the deals that you won or lost. It's a great tool for a sales manager, but also for a sales owner to really take stock of how their customer conversations are translating into actual sales, right? And we call that conversion. Marketing automation, again, we talked about it, not really my cup of tea, but everyone is using it, so I absolutely, say that you should look into this if marketing is something that you're, really heavy on.
Is this what we call email marketing?
Yeah, so marketing automation is basically taking the email marketing a step further, so it's automating that process. So email marketing might just be like, thank you for attending our business. This can write 100 of those emails and pull out from your CRM data your customer's name, their address, their position, all kinds of relevant data to be able to supplement that information into those emails. And then the next step is AI sales tools. And this is, again, where you have to be careful, because you can take yourself right out of the sales game, and we know it. Like, hey, show of hands, have you gotten an email in the last week from someone that you knew was probably using marketing automation? Like, a computer wrote it, or they had the wrong name, or a space where your name was supposed to be. There's all kinds of ways that we can tell. That is basically a salesperson going on autopilot, and it's not a great idea. So I caution everyone to utilize these tools, but to inject yourself in between the AI and your customer always, right? Take for example, I had a client once, his daughter was into soccer. She had an upcoming soccer tournament. The AI is not going to write that in the email. So there's a large portion of our conversation that's going completely unacknowledged, and potentially showing that customer that I'm not as invested in them as I actually am. And I think that's ultimately, we're going to talk about it more, that's ultimately the most important thing with sales, is like, our customers need to know that we're invested in them. If we're not invested in them, how can we ask them to invest in us? So a lot of where I'm going to go from here is going to talk about building relationships, building trust, and all of that. But I want you to know that fundamentally, this is sort of where we have to start. This is the platform that we can jump off of from. So it's easy to forget that human capital is as important as revenue, and a sales organization cannot exist without clients. It also can't exist without a sales team. So treat your sales team with as much respect as you do your clients, and they will reciprocate that respect tenfold. I want to add something to that. Treat yourself with as much respect as you do your clients, right? Because oftentimes right now we're the owners, but we're also the salespeople. So make sure that we're being kind to ourselves. It's a great lesson to learn in business. Any other questions about the sort of basics of sales before I move through that? It's by far the fastest I've ever gotten through that, so applaud for that. Any other questions or anything for understanding some of those fundamentals, the acronyms? Perfect, you guys are making it easy. Okay, so the business of sales. I'm going to take a drink. Why doesn't someone else tell me? We've heard what marketing was. Can someone tell me what they think sales is?
The lifeblood of an organization.
That's true.
Getting the client to say yes.
Getting the client to say yes, for sure. Anyone back on this side? Any no wrong answers here. No wrong answers.
And exchange. I'll say exchange money for a product or service.
Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. It's a transaction between two or more parties that involves the exchange of money for goods or services or some other thing. There's really 4 different aspects of sales. There's business development, getting customers, relationship building, creating those relationships, generating that revenue from those relationships, and then funneling those customers back in. Because a lot of times, you've heard of the sales funnel. Well, it shouldn't be a sales funnel. It should be like, what's that? Is that like a cornucopia that has like a funnel and then it circles around and goes back like that again? Because it should be reciprocal. If we've created long-lasting relationships with our customers, they're not going to come out after revenue generation and go bye-bye. They're going to stay in our ecosystem. We're going to do a good job of communicating with them, helping them to feel valued, helping them to understand that we're there for the longevity of their business, and we are, like I said before, invested in them. So I'm going to break down each of those 4 sections for you. I'm just going to look here. I just want to see what I've passed because I tend to not pay attention to this stuff. So feel free to go through here and fill these out as I go. Like I said, I do a horrible job of stopping for the questions. If you want to fill them out as we're going, that's fine. But just think about some of the answers to some of these questions. And then, and I put IPC, not ICP. Ideal client profile, I didn't talk about it, but that's basically just your key demographic. If you get down to 7, that's really sort of where we are now, but feel free to go back in and fill in some of those answers because I think it's important. I tried to craft this less as like can you reiterate what you saw on the slide, and more how can this add some value to what you're doing in your business right now. So try and take an introspective look at like how to answer these questions in a way that could theoretically help you to formulate your 6-month strategy for revenue generation and so on. So what is business development? Business development is basically just getting customers. Sometimes now organizations have business development departments, business development representatives. Basically those are usually less tenured salespeople who are sort of making a lot of calls, like 100 calls a day. They're just calling out. I've managed BDRs. Some people love it. Some people lose their soul doing it. It's usually something that has a 2 to 3 year life cycle, and then people get burned out, mostly because they move into actual sales roles. But just remember that business development is an important part of every sales process, whether it's the salesperson doing their business development or whether they have a department doing that for them. Similar to how marketing makes people aware, if you want to think of basically business development guys are the people on the street. You know, if you've ever been to New York and they're like, come into the show right now, 20% off, let's go. That's your BDR guy, getting them in there so now your salespeople can have that conversation. So what are the 3 aspects of business development? Prospecting, networking, and outreach, although I put automated outreach because 99% of people are utilizing automated outreach. Just make sure that you're in between the AI and your customer. So prospecting, what is prospecting? Before we look at this, what is prospecting? Does anyone love prospecting here? Yeah?
I just wanted to say that for anybody who's like kind of new to sales, I think that while we're going through this, it's important to think about your ideal customer profile.
Yeah.
You know, to whom you're selling, it makes it a lot easier.
For sure. And that is one of the exercises on here, I believe. But yes, absolutely. Hugely important, hugely important to do customer analysis. So maybe that's a great question. Is there anyone in here that can't define their ideal client profile? Does everyone know who they're selling to? Okay, so would you want to share?
I'm not in sales at all.
That's okay.
And nobody's that training in a small company.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're in a steel manufacturer, and I know, I'm not at the shop, but I know that who we sell to, we don't know the end product. It's other manufacturers generally.
Yeah.
We don't know the end product, and I think they range from newer companies to old companies. We're an older company, over 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But you know who you're selling so let's say you're a tier 3 supplier and you're selling to tier 2. You know who your tier 2 clients are, you just don't know who the end user is once the product gets manufactured. In this case, your ideal client profile is that tier 2 manufacturer. So you want to define what types of manufacturers are you selling your product to? So let's just say you're automotive manufacturing. So you're selling to tier 2 automotive manufacturers in Ontario with revenue over $50 million a year, whatever it happens to be, but that's how you would break down your ideal client profile. There is an exercise in here, so I would say that's maybe something that you might want to take the opportunity to look at and go through as an organization, or feel free to reach out to me and I'm more than happy to walk you and your organization through the process of doing that. But you know, like Richard said, absolutely hugely important place to start, and not something I should have glossed over. So, prospecting. So prospecting is your proactive search for clients, right? So it's not, I put an ad in the newspaper and people reached out to me. That's not really prospecting. It's advertising, it's great, it's a good return on investment, but it's not prospecting. Prospecting is actually going out and proactively doing something to create a relationship with a client. So it often has a low conversion rate. So think if I go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting and there's 100 people there, I would probably be an excellent networker if I walked away with 5 meaningful conversations, would you say? So that's 5% conversion rate, not great.
So would that be like if you did like a trade show or something like
Correct.
that?
And even less return on investment because there's 10,000 people there and you still might only have 5 meaningful conversations, right? So it takes a big investment to get out of it. It's repetitive because you might introduce yourself 20 times. That's why knowing your elevator pitch and being able to articulate it is so hugely important. But it has the potential to bring back a large group of customers for you, which is fantastic. So a lot of potential there, just also a lot of work. Networking. So networking is your organic search for clients, right? So now I'm coming out to a networking event, we're shaking hands, we're talking. Maybe that Chamber of Commerce is maybe a bit of a better example here. Whereas prospecting is maybe I'm going out and I'm knocking on doors and looking for businesses. Here, maybe I'm going to some events and meeting people. So I should differentiate between prospecting is looking for customers, whereas networking is looking for customers but in a very organic way. So organic search for clients, and it's got a higher conversion rate because now you're in a group of like-minded people, so it's easier. So let's go back to that trade show versus chamber event. A trade show there's a sea of people, everyone comes from different walks of life. I'm not sure that I have anything in common with any of these people. It's harder for me to forge new ground with them. Whereas networking, okay, I said I was going to the Habitat for Humanity thing on Thursday night. There's going to be lots of like-minded people there that like Scotch. I'm going to get along great with everyone. I'm probably going to have a super high conversion rate, right? So if we put ourselves in situations where we're around like-minded people, we may end up getting better results out of our networking. It's relationship and referral-based selling, again, so hugely important to be building this rapport with those clients. And the focus would be a smaller group of customers, obviously, because, again, go trade show to networking event at the chamber. And then automated outreach. So automated outreach, again, is that sort of third piece of that triangle. It's your technological search for your clients. You may be utilizing Google for advertising and stuff, but you're probably going to want to have some automated outreach that sends, blasts customers that have come into your ecosystem. So a great way of doing this, and again, I am not the marketing guy, but a great way to do this is to have a form on your website or some downloadable content that someone has to put their information in before they get that piece of content. You've all done it on a website, right? To get this free thing, give us your information. By doing that, that information is then funneled into that automated marketing campaign or program. You create a campaign to reach out to those clients. And so it's really is praying and spraying, so super low conversion rate. You might send out tens of thousands of emails to get, I don't know, do you know conversion rates on what's a normal conversion rate on a click campaign?
Pretty low.
Yeah, it's low, right?
Pretty low.
If you're getting like a 30% open rate, that
Yes.
is a pretty big success.
Right.
In most cases, you're probably looking at 10%, and then of that, you're going to probably have a much lower conversion rate. But again, it depends on what you're
On the content, for sure, absolutely. It's automated, so it's great. So whereas this takes a heck of a lot of work, also some work, a lot less work. But it's also sometimes the quality, you get in what you get out, right? So, or get out what you put in. So definitely important to think about those three things, because those are the mechanisms that you're going to utilize to bring customers into your sphere. Then it's all about the customer experience. So now they're here. You guys have arrived. You saw the advertisement. The automated marketing worked. You guys are physically sitting here today. So now it's about the experience. You came through the door. You were greeted. You were provided resources to be able to make today a successful event. It's all of the things that your customer feels once they've started engaging with you. So customer service is how you deliver your product or service, but it's really, I think, more so your customer's perception of that, because we should not be taking our own word on how great we are at customer service. We should be asking people and pressure testing it. It's hugely, hugely important. So this is just another quote. This is great, actually. I think this is perfect timing. Why don't we take a quick 5-minute break, get some water, because when we come back, I'm going to do about 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the art of sales, and then we're going to be doing a lot of breakout sessions in groups of 3s. So think about that. If you're at a table group of 3 already, that's perfect. If not, think about who you can partner with. Before I do that, are there any questions about the business or the basics of sales? You're all sales pros. We can just, we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up right now.
I actually
Yeah.
have a question. If people are thinking that when you're doing automation, and using to put yourself between the two, can you give us an example of what that might look like? Just so that we're like on the right track.
100%. So,
So
with
what was the question?
How to put yourself between AI and the person and the customer.
Because initially, like, the AI is going directly to the customer, like, how are you going to bring yourself into that?
Not always. So take a product like Gong. So if I scoot back here to this page, I hate doing this. It's gone. I don't know where it is. It was somewhere. Anyway. Take, for example, a salesperson writes a script that says, hey, a follow-up script to a conversation. Thank you so much for the conversation. Really appreciated that. Inject product customer wanted from CRM. So now it says, thank you very much for your conversation about our new AI tool that you were interested in. Would love to connect with you. Here's my calendar link. Thanks again. But what if some part of that conversation varied from that conversation? Like, what if the person told you that they were going to be out of the country for the next 2 weeks? What if they told you their mother was sick? What if they told you that they're getting a promotion? And nowhere in your automated email do you acknowledge any of those things that were the reason why you had a rapport with that person in the first place. So we take the personal part out of the message and allow AI to do the business for us. But guess what? People don't really want to do business with computers. They want to do business with people. Would we agree that, like, humans like talking to humans? So it's important to make sure that the AI isn't creating like a dichotomy between you're having this great personalized conversation with your client, you seem invested, you seem like you understand everything that's going on, and now all of a sudden they just get this scripted email that's generic and it doesn't tell them what they need. That's a best case example. The worst case example is sales reps that don't understand the program and actually mess up the algorithms so they're not bringing your name in. So it says, hi, line, thank you so much for the conversation we just had. How valued does that make you feel? Right? Now, obviously, if you're working with a professional organization to set these things up, hopefully they're going to put that stuff under lock and key. I have worked personally with a lot of organizations that do not put their AI, like Gong in particular, allow reps to create their own scripts, and it just doesn't provide the results. It just does not provide the results. So think about that the next time you see an email. Think about it. Was it written by a human? Was it written by a computer? If it was written by a human, they should have done a better job of connecting with me. If it was written by a computer, case in point, we've proved why it's so important to have humans in the conversation. And guys, this is a big deal. Like, I don't know how tapped in everyone is to AI, but AI is absolutely in the next couple of years, and in some ways right now, going to be able to have conversations, real-time contextual conversations with us. You will get calls from robots saying that they're salespeople trying to sell you products, right? So it's crazy to think what might come, but also important for you to understand the benefits that it could have, but also the pitfalls. I'm going to get to you, but just one question back here.
I've had a few conversations.
What's that?
I've had a few conversations.
Yeah?
Very good.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Multiple languages.
I was on a podcast and I used Google's new product. I can't remember what it's called. Sorry. It wasn't Gemini that I used. It was a specific program that they've utilized. It's basically a note taker that can summarize what the notes were and create a podcast based on it. So I wrote a white paper and I plunked it into this thing, and there were two people within 3 minutes. There was a full-on podcast back and forth. Hey, have you heard of this new thing that everyone's? Oh yeah, you got to jump on the bandwagon now. It was amazing. Like I could even share it with you, But it is amazing how far it's getting. We just need to be understanding how to utilize it for good, right? It's like you can use your powers for good or evil.
I'm in the interior design field, and where I'm finding AI is most frustrating is interior designers using AI to create spaces, and then they're not even created properly. We're looking at the spaces, there's faucets without sinks underneath it,
Yep.
there's all these, and no one's like really taking a clear look at those types of things,
Mhm.
as well as blog posts. A lot of people are using AI to write blogs for them, but they're not rereading it.
Yeah, that's, okay.
Reread it.
I want to stop the conversation there because that's a great point. You should be using AI to help you write blogs.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
If the written word isn't your forte, allow AI to help you become an excellent writer, but learn from it. And
correct
for
it
heck's
and
sake,
make it
please
more
read it before you post it, right? Because AI is not infallible. It does make mistakes. It will make you look silly, right? So, any other great conversation, by the way, and I'm more than happy to continue it. Any other questions related to the business or basics of sales before we just cut for 5, and then we'll come back and do some group work? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have been in sales for a long time, and I feel that with the current scenario, as the tech is taking over, how relevant is a salesperson's personality or his presentation or his and his art of selling, whatever it is, compared to what is available through the technology, which is faster, which is more organized, which is you reach
Sure.
faster, you get faster results. So I feel that there is a big skill gap between the technology, the digital age of selling, and what we are
100%.
doing. Stephen Harvey, great, everything. That's like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this is literally why we're here today. Like so you literally just teed me up for the next hour, which is amazing.
Yeah. And
I agree with you 100%. My company has a fundamental sales methodology called social selling for the modern era, and it's exactly what you're talking about. The pendulum has swung so far to the digital side that people have forgotten about the genuine interaction that people have. And at some point we're going to lose it altogether and people aren't even going to value it, or we're going to bring it back. And I'm here to try and bring it back. So like, I feel that it's important to have relationships with clients, even if you're reaching out to them digitally. I feel like it's important to create longevity, rapport, and trust with your clients, which is extremely difficult to do through digital means. You have to be intrinsically accountable to everything that you do in order to get someone to trust you online. And the second that you make some commitment that you falter on, you're going to hurt yourself, right? So part of what we're going to talk about here over the next hour is how do we inject the personable side of selling into what we're doing today. And hopefully you'll see some value there. But I absolutely agree with you. The one thing where I will differ is I don't think it's providing better, faster results. I think it's providing fast results, but I don't think that those results are necessarily better, if that makes sense. Like, I've worked in large sales orgs. I work for a large software company in Cambridge, multinational. They sell some of their products online. They sell some of their products through salespeople. The stickiness of the products that are sold through salespeople is tenfold to the stuff that people are buying online. And part of the reason is because people online do not educate themselves. They read an article that says, you need this, they go, I need this, and they go and buy it. A real salesperson, a true salesperson, will pressure test their client. You want to give me money? That's great, I want to take your money. But I want to understand a little bit more why I'm taking your money. Can you help me to understand how you've come to the conclusion that my product is, what you need? And if they go through and they say all of the great things about your product and they understand its true value to them, fantastic, sell it to them. But I'm telling you, in software, half the times people buy software, they buy the wrong software, and most of the time it's because they didn't take the time to investigate what they were actually purchasing. They listened to the sales or marketing speak, which was the benefit, which we're going to talk about, so I won't talk down about it too much, but they list the benefits to get you enticed, and you don't actually realize that there's other things that go on with that. So let's take a quick 5 minutes. Let's come back. We'll have some fun. I've talked for too much. I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk.
I was going to say, if it didn't work, I was
So the art of sales. If you want to turn to I should have put the page numbers on here. The one that starts with number 8. Name the 6 steps of ensuring you're building the foundation for a long-standing relationship with your clients in every interaction. Keep an eye on the questions that are here and feel free to fill them out as we go. I'm going to touch on a little bit about our sales methodology, and then we're going to open it up to 3 objection handling exercises. I was trying to think of what's going to have the most impact for you as a business owner today, and probably the biggest thing for a salesperson is objection handling, right? We have customers that know they may need our product, but they don't know why or how, and so we need to educate them. So what is relationship building? I don't even think I need to ask. We know what relationship building is. But what is relationship building in sales? So in sales, relationship building is achieved by focusing on the development of long-term trust-based relationships. So building that rapport and longevity of relationship and prioritizing that sometimes over the immediate sale, right? Remember that. If you want to create relationships with your customer, don't make them feel like they're dollar signs. It seems pretty easy. Has anyone in here ever been made to feel like a dollar sign before? Every day, right? So make sure that we are showing our customers how much we're invested in them, how much we care about them, how much our products are going to support them and get them over whatever the hurdles are that they're experiencing. So how do I build those long-lasting relationships? So like I mentioned, it's just like in life. Think about your friends, think about your family. It's trust, it's accountability, it's not lying, it's transparency. It's developing all of those things that make you a good friend with your clients. And you know, for some of you that might sound like it's a little bit foreign. Like, why would we want to make our clients our friends? Well, ultimately, if we want them to come back to us, we need to be the type of people that they, I don't want to say enjoy being around, but at the very least they find insightful, or they enjoy our products, or they've had a positive customer experience when they're dealing with us. Whatever it is, there's got to be something that helps them come back. When I've been managing salespeople, the quote I always use is, be the person that they want to pick up the phone when they see your number. How many times does a salesperson's number show up on your, or just a random number and you're like, nope. Be the person that they want to pick it up and have that conversation, and don't always make that about a product, right? I can't, if I sell widgets, if I sell these things, I can't only talk to you about these things. We're probably not going to have a very meaningful relationship or meaningful conversations. So quite often times when I enter into a relationship with a customer, I don't talk about whatever it is I'm there to be selling at all. I met with a client at his farm a week and a half ago. We walked around his farm for an hour and a half. I asked him everything I could about his life and why did he move to the farm? Show me how you shovel all of it. Because he needed to understand that I was invested in who he was as a person before I was going to ask him to invest in me as an organization or as a resource. So some things that we need to consider. We want to always be building trust, providing value. We want to become that internal trusted advisor, right? I think that's a hugely important thing. When we cross this chasm of acquaintance, friend, trusted advisor, right? This is like a trusted advisor is someone who we go to when we need critical information. A lot of times those are third-party external resources that someone might pay for, like a consultant. Sometimes maybe it's a senior person in their organization. If you as a salesperson can become a trusted advisor, hugely beneficial. You were talking about metal manufacturing. You used to sell to Linamar. I knew a guy who worked for a software company that had free pass to walk into Linamar whenever he wanted, and pretty much every time I showed up, the guy was eating a sandwich with his feet up on a desk, waiting for someone to ask him a question. That's a pretty big trusted advisor. Guaranteed they're buying that guy's products nonstop, right? So when you can become that internal advocate for a client, it's huge for them. That internal advisor. You want to understand their motivation for buying, right? It's one thing to understand that if someone's buying a hamburger, they're hungry, but it's further to understand that they had, for me, Chick-fil-A, I had the best experience of customer service and fast food I've ever had in my life. I don't know if anyone's been to Chick-fil-A. You should go. It's pretty amazing. Like, someone came to take our garbage and asked me how my meal was and offered me more Chick-fil-A sauce. I'm pretty sure no one at McDonald's has ever asked me a question at all, ever, or cared about how the meal was. So remember that understanding the motivation behind why that person is doing that thing is hugely important. And then be present post-sell. So how many salespeople drop off the face of the planet the second they get the money? Make sure you're the person that's following up to ensure that the quality of service or product that you offered is there. So whether that's if you're a transactional sale, whether that's having a platform like social media for your customers to come and give you their feedback, or whether that's something like today, putting together an online survey for you guys to see how I did today. There's so many different ways that we can pressure test our relationships with our customers and make sure that after the product has been delivered, we're still standing beside them. Any questions or comments about that? Anyone disagree? Yeah?
Sorry.
That's okay.
You were saying that you talk to people about everything but what you're selling. How do you do that when you don't care to talk to people about stuff? And you're like, you're not a talkative person, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm the type of person, like, I'll come in this room and I can talk to anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not like,
So I'm gonna put on my executive coaching hat for a second. How is that gonna impact your ability to sell? Like how will you be able to sell?
I don't know, like, I just want to say what I need to say. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how my mind works. Like, I just need to say what I need to say. I don't need to get into all this, like, who cares how you shovel that, or who cares how you bought that, or why you live on this farm. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get there if you're not that person?
Yeah, I'm similar to you.
Yeah, like I think there's a number of different
There's not a lot of
resources out there if
space
you want to become that person. Like there's Toastmasters, there's other organizations, even just networking. Like go and become a member of the chamber and volunteer at a couple of events. Honestly, you'll talk to 100 people that night because you'll have to, and you'll feel more comfortable about it. So I have public relations training. I've been trained to do public speaking and stuff. That helps. The more times you're looking in the mirror and literally looking in the mirror, saying something to get the jitters out or to get the ums out or the ahs out or whatever it is. So the only thing I will say is not everyone is cut out to be a salesperson. Do not beat yourself up about it. If you're like, why am I just not a great salesperson? It's just like some people are great engineers and some people are great athletes, right? So I think it's better for you to understand your strengths than it is for you to force yourself to be a great salesperson, but happy to talk about any resources that you might be able to to take advantage of to help you with that. But coming here is the first step, so awesome, like way to go. Richard, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit contrarian here. I think that this world is full of so much noise and BS. Like if you've got if you understand what I mean, and if you understand the motivation
You're
for
marketing,
me to
right?
buy
Marketing.
and sales, but it's the same way. Like I think that I would rather somebody give me the skin than try to run circles around to impress me with something that's not going to move either like a mutual relationship forward.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's some merit to understanding whether or not the customer is really a customer then, might be a customer in 6 months, and then if you need to let them go, you can let them go, as long as they understand what it is, how you solve the problem that they might have.
Sure. Yeah, I would never suggest skirting the benefits of what your product offers, but I think leading with that can turn people off. And so if that's what works for Richard, that's absolutely fantastic. In my experience, creating relationships with people